What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for Serie A Week 26 predictions. Now, the last game week for Serie A, La Liga and Bundesliga, to be honest, was quite difficult. It was much less successful, we should say, than the previous game week where, of course, in Serie A, we had 5 out of 10 perfect scores. I'm looking to bounce back here. We've got do we have the classic tip this week for Serie A? We don't. There's no BTTS and unders, but there are a few winners and unders that I like the look of, as well as a tip of nearly 5. So there's a lot of value to be had in this game week. So make sure you drop your predictions down in the comments below. Whilst you do that, flashing up on the screen are all of the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon. If you want to get a shout out in every single video, as well as access to exclusive members tips and accumulators, then by all means do that. This video is, of course, going up at 4 p.m. on the Wednesday, the 19th. So if you want to get ahead of time and check out my tips for the Champions League tonight over on the Patreon, you have time to do that if you click the join link in the description. But we're going to kick it off with Lecce up against Udinese. Udinese beating Empoli 3-0. Phenomenal result. Lecce got a draw with Monza 0-0. I expected a draw. I didn't think it'd be 0-0, I have to say. But I think this is going to be quite low scoring, and I'm just going to shade it to the more in form, I guess you could say, Udinese, and go for a 1-0 win. I've gone pretty conservative here. Really, the value comes from the unders in this tip. I've gone for Udinese double chance and under 2.5 goals, just because Udinese to win odds are actually quite high, considering they're, undefeated in the last 3. Obviously, Lecce, the same can be said for them. Very similar recent record. In fact, identical. 2 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses in their last 7. So I think it's going to be low scoring. Udinese double chance and under 2.5 goals at 2.1. That brings up the odds really well, and I think it could happen on this Friday night. After this, it's Parma up against Bologna. Parma, 4 losses in a row. Bologna undefeated in their last 7. It's win, draw, win, draw, win, draw, so I definitely could see a draw here. I considered it, but I'm just going to go for a 2-1 win to Bologna. However, my tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.75, because just in case we see a draw here, I mean, not the 0-0, but like the 1-1 there, the 2-2 there, the 2-2 there, just in case we saw a score, as we see a score draw. Parma, they didn't score here against Roma, but they tend to score, right? As you can see here, they've scored in, well, if you take the last 5 games, they've scored 4 goals, 4 times in their last 5 games. So I think they could score at home. The tip is both teams score at 1.75. You could go Bologna win. You could, if you're really brave, go Bologna and both teams to score at odds of probably 3 to 4. So that's pretty good. After this, it is Venezia up against Lazio. Venezia winless in their last 7. Lazio undefeated in their last 3. I think this is a Lazio win, not without a scare. 2-1 to Lazio. The tip is just simply Lazio to win at 1.66. I like that. I thought about Lazio and both teams to score. I thought about Lazio and over 1.5 goals, all of which could be a consideration, but I do think Lazio do get the win. After this, it's Torino up against AC Milan. Torino losing last time out to Bologna. 3-2, but undefeated. Lots of draws before that. AC Milan going from strength to strength. Hellas Verona 1-0. We predicted 2-0. Empoli 2-0. We predicted 2-0. I'm going for it again. I'm going to go 2-0. AC Milan obviously have played, by the time you're watching this video, in the Champions League against Feyenoord. I predict that they do progress past Feyenoord, but you never know. We might see an upset there. But either way, I think it lends itself to a good performance in Serie A. If they get knocked out of the Champions League, it's like, right, we need to start climbing the table. And if they don't, they'll be energized and rejuvenated by making the final 16. So I think a 2-0 win to AC Milan. I'm going to tip AC Milan to win at evens too. I really, really like that. After this, it's Inter Milan up against Genoa. Genoa got a 2-0 win against Venezia. That was a very good result. Obviously, Venezia are quite a way down the table, but still a good result. And Inter lost to Juve 1-0. I don't know how they lost. They created enough chances for sure to get something from that game, but couldn't finish them. And then Juventus come back in the second half, making it 1-0. Brilliant result for them, pushing Juventus into the top 4. I'm going for Inter Milan to win this one. I reckon it'll be quite comfortable, 3-0. And the tip is going to be Inter Milan win to 0 at 2. Back again for one of our favourite tips for Inter Milan to win to 0. After this, it's Como up against Napoli. Napoli, 3 draws in a row after their winning streak. But obviously, Inter losing out to Juventus sees them stay top of the Serie A. So I think this is going to be a really close one. But one score. I love it for Napoli away when they're the favourites. Even if they're not massive favourites, I love this so much. 1-2. 2-1 to Napoli, and I'm going to go for it. Napoli to win and both teams to score at 4.75. Como are absolutely good for a goal. Beating Fiorentina here 2-0. They lost to Juve 2-1. Bologna, I mean, they tend to keep clean sheets, Bologna do. They lost to Atalanta 2-1. I could see it happening again. 2-1 to Napoli. After this, it's Hellas Verona up against Fiorentina. Fiorentina, disappointing result there against Como. And before that, Inter Milan 2-1. It's a tough one, but it is what it is. Verona losing to AC Milan 1-0 and Atalanta 5-0. I think they're going to lose here to Fiorentina again. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win, but instead of Fiorentina to win at 1.87, I've actually gone for under 2.5 goals because the odds are 1.8, and I think that's pretty good. Fiorentina's defense is usually pretty solid, especially with De Gea in goal, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. You could go Fiorentina and under 3.5 goals to get the 3-0 and the 2-1 on side, whereas under 2.5 goals wouldn't have that. It's up to you, but I think Fiorentina get the win here. Following that, it's Empoli up against Atalanta, and Atalanta firm favourites here, right up there in the Serie A. And again, Atalanta are playing in the Champions League today at the time of recording, and I do think that they progress against Club Brugge. I think they were unfortunate in the first leg, but they're going to have enough at home. You'd expect to make it through to the round of 16, and they're still in with a shout for the Serie A title. Absolutely. You have to think that Atalanta will get eliminated from the Champions League eventually with games to be played, and therefore their focus will return to the Serie A. But for this one, I think it's just get the 3 points by any means possible. Atalanta to win 1-0. And the tip is Atalanta to win and under 3.5 goals at 2.25. I don't think we see another 5-0 like this. Empoli games are usually quite low scoring, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. Atalanta and under 3.5 goals. After this is Cagliari up against Juventus. I think it's going to be very much similar. Usually, I back Cagliari to get a goal. They didn't against Atalanta. They did obviously against Parma. They did against Lazio. They didn't against Torino. I think it's going to be a classic Juve 1-0 win. We look at these wins here. 1-0 against Inter, 2-1 against Como, 4-1 against Empoli. I think we're going to follow the 1-0 trend. And again, like the Atalanta tip, I'm going to go Juventus to win, but instead of Juve to win at 1.8, I'm going Juve and under 3.5 goals at 2.5. You could absolutely double this up. I mean, I've got 3 1-0 away wins in a row here. You could go Fiorentina, Atalanta, Juve, all to win, all under 3.5 goals, and that would probably bring you odds of about 8-9 to 1, and I think it's pretty likely. So Juventus to win 1-0. Finally, we have Roma up against Monza. I mean, there's a game between Bologna and AC Milan here that I didn't anticipate. It wasn't on the bookmakers' website, so I'll do that prediction on the fly for you. Roma, they're going to win this. Undefeated in the last 7, but not without conceding. Even though Monza are right at the bottom of the league, I think Roma will concede, and I'm going to go 3-1, Roma to win and both teams to score at 3.25. And after this, Bologna, AC Milan. I don't know how to go with this one. Bologna undefeated, AC Milan looking pretty good. I want to go for an AC Milan win, but they're not. Let's go for a 1-1 draw. 1-1, that tip's on the fly. I'm not going to put that towards the record or anything. We'll just go with 1-1. And as a tip, we'll go with, you know what? Bologna in good form. Let's go with both teams to score at odds of probably about 1.9. I've just checked. The odds are 1.75 for Bologna, AC Milan, both teams to score. So that's what we'll go with. So here is a summary of the picks. As you can see, I've got the better teams winning. It's another week of top half of the league against lower half of the league, and when that happened 2 weeks ago, we absolutely smashed it. But I'm going for low scoring away day delights with Juve, Atalanta, Fiorentina, Napoli, AC Milan, Lazio, Bologna as well, all top half teams away from home against bottom half teams, and I think they all get the win. I think it'll be low scoring. I think it's going to be intriguing. I mean, I have both teams to score in 4 out of 11 fixtures. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 11, which is not a lot. A lot of wins to 0 and barely any draws. I think there should be a winner in a lot of these games. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for my Serie A predictions. Very intriguing week, much like the one 2 weeks ago. I think we could see some correct scores here. If I had to hang my hat on some correct scores, I'd be looking towards 2-0 AC Milan, even 2-1 Napoli. I know 2-1 is a bit of a challenging one to get the perfect score, but 2-0 AC Milan, 2-0 Napoli, and possibly 1-0 Juventus. Those are my favourite in terms of correct scores. I think one of those three at the very least is going to come in, which is quite a brave thing to say, but there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Drop a like while you're down there, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.